Welcome to the Cuban Club. You should now be standing just inside the main entrance of this historic Circulo Cubano de Tampa. This is the second floor of the building. On both sides of this foyer, which leads to the theater, you will see a historic timeline of the building. Before proceeding on a tour of all 4 floors of this building, you will want to take a look at this display. You will also find other exhibits covering the wars for Cuban independence and the history of this Cuban club on the 3rd floor. By offering cradle-to-grave benefits to its members, this Cuban club became the center of social and cultural life for its members and the larger Cuban and Cuban-American community. Members went to the Cuban club cantina after work to enjoy a game of dominoes and zip a cup of café con leche or a rum and coke called a Cuba Libre. For many, it was a home away from home. Membership soared in the 1920s, reaching an all-time high of 5,000 in 1929. At that time, on the eve of the Great Depression, this building was always buzzing with activity. Cuban immigrants and their children worked in the cigar factories, but the Circulo Cubano was the cultural center of their lives. This building symbolized and served the Cuban colony of Tampa Bay for over 90 years. The history of this Cuban club reflects the histories of Tampa, Florida, and Cuba. When the Great Depression hit, the cigar industry suffered a wound from which it would never recover. Demand for cigars dropped, and mechanization began to put workers out of jobs. Cuban workers left in search of other jobs, and many of them returned to Cuba. Membership in this Circulo Cubano dropped from 5,000 in 1930 to only 2,492 in 1935. When Pearl Harbor threw the United States into the Second World War, Cuban club members rose to defend the United States. Over 120 Cuban club members served in the military in all branches. Many were wounded, and at least one of them, Oscar Ramos, died in the European campaign. The board of directors opened the doors of the building to the American Red Cross, and they purchased war bonds to support the war effort. All members in military service were exempted from paying their annual dues to the Cuban club, which meant that their families here at home enjoyed and kept their medical benefits while the soldiers were doing their duty in the battlefields. When these veterans returned home, they found that Ybor City, West Tampa, and the Cuban club had changed dramatically. The cigar industry was dying, but new jobs were opening elsewhere. The city was expanding into the suburbs. Second and third generation Cuban immigrants were gradually assimilating and adopting American culture and traditions. As they moved away from Ybor City, membership in the Cuban club continued to drop, and the building itself started showing signs of decay and neglect. In 1964, the club launched its first major renovation effort. All the original wooden windows were replaced. The French doors in the grand ballroom were also replaced, with access to the Juliet balconies sealed off. Unfortunately, the club members could not afford to do more to maintain and renovate their building. Financial mismanagement combined with declining membership nearly put this historic building on the public auction blocks in 1992. To save the club and prevent its sale to private interests, a group of civic-minded individuals formed the Cuban Club Foundation in 1992 to raise funds necessary to save and renovate the building. Through a combination of state grants, private donations, and vigorous fundraising efforts, the Cuban Club Foundation raised over $2.5 million to renovate the cantina, install an elevator, restore the grand ballroom, install air conditioning units, and build fire escapes. Most recently, the foundation has restored the theater directly ahead of you. Before proceeding there, please stop at the lobby bar to the left of the main entrance.